just a second. He's still getting his screen and everything focused on. But so they knew all these things. So what happened was the whites started to unionize and get together. Was like, we got to control these Negroes. The Native Americans was an issue too. They was fighting the Native Americans for a while. And to show you how dirty white people are, they used the Native Americans against us and then put them on not only reservations, they was kicking a lot of them out and sending them to Mexico. That's what you get about read all these stories about John Horse and Osceola and all them. They was black people that with Native Americans that was fighting the white people after they finessed black people. So they did the Native Americans dirty, and they pushed a lot of them off into Mexico before, because the real Mexicans are Native Americans. That's really what they are. If you don't look like George Lopez, you're not no real Mexican. The Mexicans you see that are very light skinned, those are they mix with white people. That's why a lot of them treat you like white people. That's why a lot of them just as racist as white people, because they know they really white people. The ones the Mexicans with those flat, undeveloped bodies and stuff, they're white people. That's what they ain't. They're not no real man. The real Mexicans were named. And by the way, Mexico was founded by a black man named Vicente Guerrero. He was black. So our government has always had a plan to make sure that the Mexican gene or the Mexican race was always going to replace black people as the number one minority. That's why when you look at job applications and things like that, it always say non-Hispanic. They specify they're a special group of people that they get certain things put to the side for them and stuff like that. So they always knew. And I got this article here, and I'm gonna read some of it after I bring Shannon. Shannon, you got like some feedback noise. What's that there?
I don't know. Hold on a second.
I have some static or feedback going on there. Maybe make sure your mic not too close to your headset.
I'm not even on a mic.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I'm not even on a mic. I had to go straight. I'm on the phone. I had to go on the phone.
Oh, you good now?
What's going on with?
Yeah. You good now? So Shannon, I don't know what the situation is up there in Michigan, but here in Chicago, man, it's a hell of a fight. In our wards, they trying to rezone everything, where they basically trying to supplant the blacks and replace them with the Mexican population in historically black community that's been black for shit over damn near 100 years. You know, so that's a big thing that's going on with a lot of our aldermen and city council stuff. And I just read a report that the black population in a lot of the wards have dropped 3% in the last 10 years. And they trying to really get the Mexicans to replace the blacks. And I don't have no problem with Mexican people, but I ain't gonna let you just come in my neighborhood and take shit over. Just like you're not gonna let me come in yours and do that. It's not that my neighbors are Mexican people. I'm cool with Mexican people as long as they come in with respect. I don't care what y'all do. You know what I mean? Just be respectful. Now, what's the thing going on? Because I know y'all got a lot of Arabs up there in Dearborn and all that type of stuff. What is it? A lot of Mexican families in Ann Arbor?
Washtenaw County area, there is, and so Washtenaw County's cut up. Ann Arbor is going to be your biggest city. Then it goes to Ypsilanti, so you'll find your biggest faction there. I don't really get into the illegals and legals right now because I don't know who's who. Right. But I do know that there's a lot of people living off the grid here. Let's just say, I've literally seen, taking my daughter on the way to school, I've literally seen guys that have basically just got up on the back of a pickup truck, working for a landscaping company, get pulled over right down the street. And I was just talking to my lady about this, and she basically told me the reason they do that is because they don't want to get attacked. Like, they don't go to their neighborhoods and pick these guys up when they know they're illegal, when they know that their paperwork ain't right. They wait for them to get outside of their communities. And a lot of them live in like modular home communities or apartment communities, you know, and they cluster up, you know, they're tribal, you know, and they stick together. So when they jump on these trucks and go to work, you know, they'll get hit probably a mile or two just from their home. Police will pull them over. Then you see the white truck with the green writing on it, and you know somebody's going in.
Yep.
We've got a lot of that around here. Michigan, well, Ann Arbor, you know, Ann Arbor was one of those cities where they wouldn't allow people to be taken in. You know, what they call a sanctuary city. Is that what it's called? Sanctuary city, something like that.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
So Ann Arbor was one of those. I don't know if Ypsilanti was one, but I do know Ann Arbor. So I know Ann Arbor harbored illegals, you know, people that they didn't have their paperwork right. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but my thing is, if you're gonna do that, help them people get their paperwork right. Just don't say you can't come in here and take these people, because they are taking resources off the table of people who are legitimately in this country. And hell, even legitimate immigrants, they're taking resources from people who have gotten their. So I have an issue with people who don't have their paperwork right and who fail to get their paperwork right, just out of apathy. You come over here and you work, and whether you work under the table or hell, you might get a job and start getting taxes taken out, but you're not supposed to be here. So that means you have accesses and resources that a person who lives here can't get, because hell, they can't get a job, but you got a job and you're illegal. I have a problem with that.
I agree. 100% agree. What about the work labor up there? Do y'all have a Amazon or any type of industry up there in Ann Arbor?
We have multiple plants. We don't have an Amazon that's near here. We have one out near the airport. And I don't know the population. I don't know the population of. All right, y'all have a great night. The way it breaks down out there. But I do know at some of these smaller manufacturing plants and things like that, they're pretty densely populated. Not just with Latinos, but Middle Eastern people, Asians. One of the things that I've seen, and I was talking to someone about yesterday, there was a side of town, it's called the South Side of Ypsi, the South Side of Ypsilanti, and they have, I believe it's roughly around 2,400 citizens, I believe, in this area, but they got 27 black churches. And it's not all black or even predominantly black the way it used to be. And these 27 black churches still exist, even though the place has been totally gentrified. They went from low riders and riding on 28s to Priuses and Teslas in this neighborhood. So my thing was, y'all didn't do all this dope selling and what you're doing and then buy the houses up, did you? Because what's happened now is people done came in and bought the property for dirt cheap, and they raising their families where y'all ruled the roost, where you sold dope, where you did this, where you terrorized the community, and now it's gentrified. And hell, when you go out to clean up the parks and to clean up the places that you still want the kids who do still live in the neighborhood, you don't even go invite your white neighbors out.
Right.
I laugh about that type of shit. I'm thinking to myself, you allow people to move into your neighborhood, buy your property that you should have bought, and then you don't even have them come out and help you clean up the parks that their kids are going to play in.
Right.
That they're going to walk their dog in because they've gentrified your neighborhood. Those are your neighbors now. They're not your enemy. Those are now your neighbors. So get used to them because they're here to stay. But also, you didn't see Asians. You didn't see Arabs. You didn't see other Middle Eastern folk in this community when we were growing up. We were coming up. It was predominantly black, and you saw some white people speckled in every now and then.
Absolutely.
Now you see all types of ethnicities, because then when they come over here, they're on assistance. They stay in subsidized housing. They stack up 10 deep. A couple years later, a couple $500,000 houses are bought.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Brian, what's causing all this? What's up, man? Brian in H-Town, Houston. What's going on, man? What's called? I know y'all got some of these things going on in Texas. You got a heavy Latino population down there.
Well, being in Houston, we have majority Hispanic. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, do you see any type of turf wars going on with a lot of the? I guess I don't know if they call it legals, but just basically new citizens of Texas versus the nationals, the people that live there. Is it any type of conflict going on down there for the industries? Like, I know y'all got oil real big down there and all type of energy and stuff like that. No, it's not none of that going on. Okay, that's
no. We have people from all over the world here for those type of jobs.
Right, and there's no issues. There's no smoke from the nationals or nothing like that.
Nope.
What about in the rural areas outside of Houston? Because I know Houston is becoming more liberal, but what about like where you are out there, where you at Sugarland, Katy? What about in those spots out there?
Nope.
Nothing. Okay, cool. So yeah, a lot of y'all issues is probably people like coming from other states bringing a political shit down there. That's what a lot of y'all pushback is, right?
Yeah, I mean, because like anybody that coming in from like California or how's it going, Edward? Anybody come from like pretty much like a blue state, they would want to come. They want to come to our state and want to. Oh well, y'all should be doing this, and we tell them straight up, like, don't bring what you left into our state. What's going on, T? What's going on, Tony? Yeah, don't bring the political crappy bullshit that you fled. Bring that over here. There's a reason why you fled California. There's a reason why you fled New York, New Jersey. There's a reason why you fled, Ohio and all that.
Chicago or whatever, Midwest, yeah.
That's why you come to Texas, Florida. It's just kind of like, you could actually live out your life without, listening and dealing with all the stupid bullshit that you see on TikTok and all those stupid social media.
Yeah. Now, Brian, let me ask you this: as far as like the racial issues of black versus white, would you say some of that has subsided the last couple? Because you 40, what, 41, Brian?
40.
40. Would you say in the last 20 to 25 years, you see a difference in the race relationships between blacks and whites in Texas?
It's a hell of a lot better than it was.
Right.
Because pretty much it's like we're all here together. We all, like, each nationality in Houston plays a part. I mean, you got black folks going to Chinese places because they like Chinese food. You got Arabs going into getting Cajun food. You got Hispanics going into Asia. I mean, everybody dibs and dab. I mean, you saw it firsthand while you're in Houston. You saw how multiculturally diverse just with the restaurants alone,
Sure.
and you saw how packed it was.
Right.
People, we all get along down here. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, so y'all issues is just people coming from the other states with the political shit.
Yeah, and then I mean, like, from time to time, once in a while, then it's like right in the in the urban areas where you got like a liquor store robbery or somebody got black on black crime out there. That's
right. That's everywhere. Yeah, that's going on everywhere.
Yeah, but most of the time though, I mean, it's pretty much chill. Everybody gets along. Like Saturdays, we have our breweries, like going to our different independent breweries. That's a thing that people do. Like all kinds of nationalities do that. I mean, like festivals, events going on. Like it's multiculturally diverse. Nobody has any issues.
Okay, now, do y'all have an Amazon in Houston?
Yeah,
like
we have 12 locations of Amazon and still building.
You say 12?
Holy shit.
12.
We got quite a few here too. I forgot the amount, but we got quite a few here in different suburbs.
There's one not far from where I live. I mean, it's on I-10. There's even one down the road from the shop that I work at. There's two on the north side of Houston, two on the south side of Houston. There's 3 on the east side, 4 on the west side. I mean, then you got within downtown. I mean, like they're all over. Amazon's like hitting us like a virus.
You could have chose better words, Brian, but
I was looking for some better lingo there too, TJ.
Come on,
it spreads like a virus.
It
sucks up for the resources. By the time Walgreens will be going out of business. By the time Target goes out of business, then it just sucks all the resources. All the mom and pop shops close. Best Buy has suffered. Fry's Electronics has suffered. Pier 1 Imports has suffered by the hands of Amazon.
See, this is why I don't give Brian chocolate after a certain hour, because this shit right here he's talking about. That's why I don't give him sugar after a certain. What the hell are you talking about on here? We got 11 here, FYI, Brian. We got 11 in Illinois, so we're not that far from behind y'all or whatever. But that's crazy.
It's gonna suck up all the mom and pop shops there too.
Say that again.
Amazon's gonna suck up all the business from the mom and pop shops out there too.
True. It looked like Kenny's behind you, Brian. Yeah. We'll go bring Shannon back in quick. Shannon, man.
Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'll be right back.
Okay, Brian. So y'all didn't get hit as hard as Detroit and Flint with the issues, the crises, and the jobs, and it's because Ann Arbor's got a little bit of money, right? They got a decent amount of money in Ann Arbor. There's only 125 population based off what I saw, 125K. So y'all, it don't look like y'all got hit. Why is it all this bad press on Michigan for those two cities? Now I know Detroit's large, but why is it people think, oh, you don't want to go to Michigan? Where's all this bad press coming from?
I mean, we've got a divided state. Ann Arbor at one time it was considered one of the most liberal towns in the country. Growing up here, I can say it's liberal. I can even say that it was a melting pot at one time, but it definitely has its racist nature. Um, when you think about Michigan, though, I mean, you're always going to think about Detroit first, and you think about Detroit. Ann Arbor is going to come in play, but there's a lot of communities around Michigan that suffered through all of this because they relied on small businesses. I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in Michigan. I mean, when you start talking about contractors, I mean, businesses like landscaping companies, horticultural companies, different things like that. There's a ton of those. Those businesses were non-existent during the pandemic. I mean, I didn't make fun of it. I made note of it, months ago when I was seeing Yukon Denali's pull up to food banks and seeing a little young lady. Well, I mean, she might not have been young, maybe 35, 40, jumping out of her Yukon at a food bank picking up food. Because it wouldn't have been a normal thing for her to do so. She might have been out there helping, with the food bank, but her family was in need because she was in one of those situations where her husband probably wasn't working. When you saw a lot of that stuff happen, we had our own insurrection here at our capital. A lot of those guys own businesses.
Mhm.
Those weren't people that were just broke. I mean, a lot of those people own businesses or they worked for people that were independent business owners, and they wanted to go back to work. They want. I mean, you heard all the bullshit. I want to go get a haircut. I want to go to the shopping mall. Them guys wanted to go back to work, and I
Yeah.
understood it. But the situation was what it was. They needed everybody to shut down. So I mean, I'm not here to debate all that,
Right.
but where most people lost out, where we have a lot of businesses. I mean, Michigan is kind of a depressed state since the auto industry pretty much got up and left.
Mhm.
Some of the plants are still here, but for the most part, the auto industry took a lot because if you got the cars, then you got to have the suppliers to the cars.
Right.
Well, when the plants leave, those plants leave, and then so there's a lot of jobs that were gone. And when you think of Ann Arbor is the University of Michigan. You've got the medical
Yeah.
center and you've got the university.
Mhm.
Outside of that, if you don't work for the public school system, there's not a lot of businesses that are stocking up 3, 4, 500 employees.
Right.
You've
Mhm.
got the campus, you've got the medical center, and after that, it's pretty much if you don't work for one of these small businesses, and and a lot of them aren't going to be able to help you feed your family. You got to have
Mhm.
some type of trade. You got to be up out of here. So a lot of people drive to Detroit or to the suburbs for their employment. To stay in Ann
Mhm.
Arbor, it's not a real place for most Black people anymore. They priced us out of the game for
Yeah.
what we earn as a collective. There's still about 7,500 Black people in Ann Arbor, but it's dropped about 1,500 probably over the last 30 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of people that it's actually dropped, but what I find is they don't mind you working here, they just don't want you living here.
Right.
And they're able to price you out that way.
Yeah.
They're able to basically give you a livable wage, but it's a livable wage somewhere else.
Right.
Most Black people that work in Ann Arbor do not live in Ann Arbor.
Right. Wow. So let's say, look, what's a close Black town or major town that's close to Ann Arbor?
So you start to look at places even like Inkster, which was densely populated with Black people. That's been gentrified as well. you
Wow.
know yeah, that's been gentrified as well. I don't know the actual numbers, but I would have to believe that Inkster is still predominantly Black. I don't know by how much so, because there's been so many Middle Eastern families that have moved in. A lot of white families that couldn't cut it in the other areas, whether it be a Wayne surrounding area or a Dearborn Heights. Like you talked about Dearborn, where the Arabs are densely populated.
Yeah.
You're not going to gentrify that area. You're not just going to move right into Dearborn because they've got a lock on all that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and they've made that a community. And as a
Mhm.
student of Dr. Claude Anderson, that I mean, in Dearborn they've got schools They've got medical centers, doctors' offices, real estate offices, grocery stores, all owned by their people.
Yeah.
So they don't, and if I'm not mistaken, their mayor is now Arabic, and the chief of police is now Arabic, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
man.
they do things the way I think that we should behave. We should behave in a much more tribal situation, and we build business and build relationships. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with living next to somebody that looks like you, but for some reason we've chosen to think we don't want to live by our own.
Right.
We want to move away. We want to get out and be, that first Negro in my neighborhood thing don't work no more.
That's true.
If you are the first Negro in your neighborhood, you're going to be terrorized, just like people were in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
You generally want to move where you got some people in the collective. I mean, we're just in those times right now.
Because you can't protect yourself financially if you surrounded by other people. You don't think they're gonna pray? That brings us to, remember what happened with Henry Louis Gates in 2009 when they thought he broke in his own house. Where Gates is he from? Michigan? He might be from Michigan. Let me see what Henry Louis.
I'm not sure if Henry Louis Gates is from Michigan or not. There's a lot of old Black scholars that are from Detroit. I mean, think about Ben Carson's from Detroit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old Black scholars, but you don't hear them talk about their roots anymore because of the way the city has turned over the years. I would love, because there's so many. There's so many that originate from Detroit, but they don't feel like there's anything positive to talk about anymore, so they don't even bring it up. We need people, paying homage to the place really that made them. I mean, Ben Carson doesn't say shit about Detroit, and when he came to Detroit, he insulted people.
Wow.
So it's just one of those things where we're either going to start to take pride in ourselves and take pride in where we're going, and vote people out. I don't want to get too political on it than that, but we got to start voting people literally out of office that just pay us no mind. Yeah. And I know that that's scary because that means we're going to vote somebody in that's foreign to us, but I'd rather give somebody that we don't know 4 years. If they're going to make some promises, they're going to lie to us too. Okay, they'll lie to us too, but that other person's been lying for decades.
Right.
And we didn't do anything. Let's vote them out of office. Let's get them out. And show, hey, we've turned over a new leaf. I mean, we're stuck as Democratic voters. If that's what we're going to be Democrats. We're stuck. Republicans will get left behind. So why not look at other options?
I agree, and you know what I mean. We got to start playing the money game with people. We sit here and want to be happy with symbolism, or they dance to tune I like, they eat at this place I like, they wear this gear. We got to start talking with dollars like everybody else do. We you know what I mean? Having a conversation with people. Okay, what's your plan and what's your package for the Black constituents? We're not here to take from other people. We want our piece of the pot, because a lot of people get this triggered mentality, or they get scared when we start talking about. Everybody gets defensive when it's like, oh well, Black people always want something. What the hell are you talking about? Like, of course we want something like everybody else. We don't sit here and say the Native Americans always want something. The Jewish people, don't nobody say that shit. They only say it when we want something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just getting sick of the noise. I just, even with Black people, I tune them out. They're talking like that. Oh well, the white man ain't do nothing to get you in your position. If you stupid enough to talk like that, ain't nothing for us to talk about. It's literally nothing.
We talk to each other like that. We talk to each other like that. And then that gives somebody else the right to talk to each other like that, until we start getting political teeth out here, where we can bite it, motherfucker. When we say political teeth, that's what it's for. We got to be able to fight back. We can't fight back. We don't have anybody that's politically driven enough in a high enough place to where we have any type of leverage. The higher we go in politics, the weaker we are. The ground level, the grassroots politicians, they get in and they get fucked up. Look at your Jamal, what's his name? What's his name? Jamal something, and Corey Bush. They sounded good when they first got in. Mm-hmm. They sounded good. Jamal, I forgot his last name, but he sounded good. Now that they're in, they all lives matter. The brother, he ain't even really got elected. He's still running. Gary Chambers, the one that was tearing up all them city council meetings and school board meetings down in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Big brother. He was killing them. Man, he started running for this and running for that. All of a sudden, he's all lives matter.
Right.
I'm telling you, we can't even get some of these people elected, and they turn them. I don't know what they do. They put them in that political Illuminati shit, and they come out and they all lives matter. They go in, fight the power, And when they come out, they're like,
that money buys them off. That money, you know what I mean? We need to get our money organized so they could they compare what we want versus the other way around. Go ahead, Shannon.
You're right. And here's the thing: we've got a whole city council in Detroit clearing out for misgivings, accepting money, accepting bribes, accepting services. One brother is leaving his city council seat. He's gonna lose his city council seat. He's a disgraced politician over 35 grand.
Jesus Christ, that's embarrassing.
Your political career is over for $35,000. You didn't even get enough to move your needle.
1 year worth of salary by most people's jobs, 35 grand. That's a year worth for most people. Yeah.
And you're done in politics because you accepted that money. There was another guy who accepted like some services from businesses as campaign shit. It's just like, dude, you couldn't pay for this shit. You're getting paid. You got a car. You're getting paid. I mean, what are you doing? Basically shaking businesses down for services because he was a city councilman.
That's
come
crazy.
on, man.
Yeah, that's insane. See, we not playing with a full deck of cards. A lot of us, like these people that got these damn PhDs, not thinking. How is it street people out thinking? Some of these rappers. I was just doing something on T.I. earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the mayor of Atlanta probably in about 20 years because he's so many people trust T.I. more than they local officials there because T.I. go up in the shop and try to figure out something. What is this community? He's got all these different communities programs and different family things he try to do and all the things he's done for black people in media in general. He's got all these different he's got his fingers in all these different pots and all. And the people know him. He'll walk in a damn local Waffle House and be like, oh, the food's on me. Y'all doing good. He's talking to everybody. Those are the type of dudes that they voted to mayoral spot. Or up in, I wouldn't be surprised if Jay-Z's the mayor of Brooklyn when it's all said and done.
Why do you think T.I. is getting, why do you think he's getting beat up right now? Why do you think he's getting beat up in the media? Why do you think they sent the vultures after T.I.? T.I. owns a ton of shit in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You hear about Killer Mike and his real estate prowess?
Yeah.
But T.I. owns a lot of shit in Atlanta, okay, in the surrounding areas, right?
Yeah.
When a black man starts acquiring that type of land, who knows about that? The city clerk, the city treasurer, they know who owns all this shit. He's probably got a corporation. He's under an umbrella, right?
Yeah.
So he starts owning places, and when you own the shit, they can't come in and take it from you and gentrify you.
Right.
But if you go to prison, you ain't gonna be able to hold on to all that shit. They're gonna squeeze you down to poverty.
Yep.
So that's why they tried to get T.I. out the paint.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just be honest. Because
you're true. That's right.
The stuff that if T.I. was just one of these rappers out here, just with the chains and touring and the cars, and you didn't hear about T.I. buying no motherfucking property. You didn't hear about him having no businesses, not all these TV shows. He's not just a rapper and an actor. This guy is an entrepreneur, and he's a power player in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was no mistake that Keisha Lance Bottoms went and got him, and she went and got Killer Mike. She comes from celebritydom. So I knew she was going to be a celebrity-type mayor. They did it with Kwame Kilpatrick. They called Kwame Kilpatrick here the hip-hop mayor. He never wrote a motherfucking rap lyric, but he was the hip-hop mayor.
He did a lot of stuff for pro wrestling too in the 80s down there. He did a lot of stuff with Ted Turner and all that type of stuff. I remember Kilpatrick. Yeah, I remember that guy.
You're talking. I know you're talking. With because Kwame's my age. Kwame was in high school in the 80s.
Okay.
You would have been talking about Mary Young. Coleman
right.
Young,
I'm sorry, Andrew Young. Right. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. I'm mixing Andrew Young.
Yeah. Coleman Young was the mayor. That Detroit, can still really talk about and help turn things around, brought the Joe Louis Arena to fruition and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But any mayor that gets out here and locks in with entertainers or that entertainment lifestyle, they're gonna figure out a way to take that down. I don't know exactly why Keisha Lance Bottoms stepped away, but she stepped away at the height of when they was attacking T.I. I felt like she might have her name on something, or maybe because she co-signed this guy, it was looking bad for her. I don't know why she would step away from being a mayor. I mean,
vicious, yeah.
It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. But you're right. In a couple years, not a couple years, probably 15 years, he probably could. If he qualifies, he probably could run for mayor. And
if Trump can do it, anybody can. You know what I mean? All you gotta do is have the money and the support. That's all you need. And a lot of black people support because they see what T.I. is doing. See, they'll put like you said, they'll put the flashlight when T.I. is getting caught with guns or he got caught with a little bit of drugs, but they're not talking about the shit that he's doing. What he's done for Bankhead. I'm surprised Bankhead's still a city, the type of crime that they've seen in Bankhead. Look what he's doing. He's got clubs in Bankhead. When he come up in there, that bullshit stops. When T.I. come up in there, bro, y'all not about to be up in here shooting and all that. You gonna be up out of here. You come up, but they don't do that clown shit. And then he got back up from David Banner's doing a lot of big stuff. The Killer Mike, like you say, even though I think Killer Mike we need to watch him a little bit. Some of the stuff he be saying is
suspect. He's suspect.
Yeah, he's a bit suspect.
He fucks with Bernie is heavy. He fucked with Bernie. He's suspect. Mm-hmm. I mean, I believe he's a solid cat deep down inside. But the fact that he fucks with a man who is vehemently against reparations, a suspect, dude, you're suspect. I mean,
and he's anti-private schools for black people too. He be constantly propping up. He was on the Breakfast Club arguing with the people because Envy, DJ Envy, the light skinned brother on Breakfast Club. He owns private schools in the Bronx. He's from the Bronx. He owns schools there. Yeah, he's got schools. He's got businesses. His children has businesses. They was on there going back and forth about Killer Mike saying defending public school. And Envy was like, no, black kids don't have the access to certain things at public schools, at private schools. Like they don't know true economics. They don't learn, all this legal stuff that you need to protect your business and, all these different things. Public school keep you from barely going to college. Now, is it public schools that groom you for it? Yes, but generally speaking, it's a lot more distractions and problems at public school, especially if you don't have to pay a tuition. Because certain what they call them charter schools. Charter schools is they got the public school type populace, but they have some of it's tuition based. So you get a better education. You don't got all the crime and all the problems that comes with inner city. Public schools was designed to guarantee it's really an outdated model. It was designed to guarantee you have a low skill, low earning factory worker. That's what when they started public schools right after slavery in 1865, 1866. It was designed to make sure you had a low earning worker. That was it was a cap and a ceiling to it. They know they weren't going to be producing a whole bunch of black entrepreneurs, and of course they have, but that wasn't the idea that they had when they started. So private school is the true answer. And you said something, well, I pay taxes, yeah, that benefits you specifically, Killer Mike, but what does that do for the large overall black population at large? So I kind of them,
Yeah, like I said, I believe he's suspect in some of his moves, and I have heard the stuff. I did listen to that interview when he was on the Breakfast Club, and him and Envy went back and forth about it. One of the things that I've definitely learned, I really don't look to entertainers for political leadership, but the way you can tell that an entertainer is really down for the cause, he doesn't stop and pose for the cameras. And one of the things that I've learned, because the things you brought out, a lot of people don't know about what T.I. does in Bankhead and Mechanicsville and all those poor neighborhoods. But see, everything that you've talked about with T.I. and David Banner and Killer Mike, it all boils down to one thing, one common denominator, and that's resources. Okay. Those brothers have done enough to acquire the resources to where when they do things, they can go and they can run the gamut all the way and do A to Z. Where most black men and women have an issue is having all the resources. We might be able to get the storefront, we might be able to get everything, but goddamn it, we got a banner sign. We can't even get a lighted sign because we don't have the resources. Or we get the lighted sign and we got everything, but then we can't stock our joint up because we don't have enough resources. Or we got everything, but we didn't even get enough to secure our joint. So within the first month, somebody breaks in and takes half of our inventory. Now we at square one. We can't get everything that we need for a lot of our businesses. And that's why we fail a lot of times. Also, look at the things that like Killer Mike does. He has the barbershops. He's got the string of barbershops. So the one thing that I like, he employs a lot of people because those barbershops need the people to come in those barbershops.
Absolutely.
I like that. I don't need you to be, and it's no discredit to Master P, because we've gone over this before. I don't need you to just put your name on a package and say it's yours and say we got another great business, because you're not employing any of the people that's going to make that stuff, package that stuff, and put it in boxes and ship it to the stores. So
Right.
your name is just on the package. So really only one person's getting paid. I need us to be on the manufacturing end of that, to where we can get paid, you know, from producing all the way to packaging to driving it out. I see these brothers, I see a post that's circulating, these two brothers sitting on top of a semi that's about 15 to 18 years old, flexing, talking about, yeah, we did it. We ain't out doing this. We bought a rig. Okay, now I need to see you hook up a 55-foot trailer to that bitch full of shit and have a continued contract with it, because you need to be able to take care of this 15 to 18-year-old truck, because it's going to have some mechanical issues.
Right.
So did you have enough money to put away for a maintenance contract? Because you need a maintenance contract when you get a rig. Because you right off the bat, when they take it in, it's going to be $1,000.
Right.
Then you got to get the shit fixed. You might have $4,000 or $5,000 you got to pay before you can get it back on the road.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you have the resources for that? Most people don't, but they'll flex as soon as they get the rig, but they ain't got nothing. I don't care about the front of the rig. I care about what you're carrying on the back of it.
Right.
Is that going to give you money every week? And most people don't think about that. They just think about buying the truck. Hell, I knew a motherfucker that bought a rig. He didn't have a CDL.
Wow. That's crazy.
But because you know what his idea was? I'm going to get somebody else to drive it. No. You got to be the first driver on this motherfucker. You got to learn how to do everything on this truck.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go get somebody else to drive it. If you don't know how to drive it and you don't know what it costs to run this truck, somebody else is about to rob you blind.
Yep. That's true.
An experienced trucker will come in and rob you blind, knowing that you don't know the ins and outs of trucking.
Yep. You got to understand the vertical integration of any industry that you're in. You have to be able to understand it. And a lot of us, now I'm glad they got that going, but like you said, you got to keep going with that. You got to make sure you got all your paperwork together, because you got to keep in mind, the minute you start being successful, don't think those people that regulate the DOT, the Department of Transportation, all that, when you black and you got something going good, you don't think they're going to J down on you. They already jealous of you to begin with. They don't want any type of, like you just said with T.I., they refuse to allow us to ever get close to what they're doing. And a lot of people say, oh, it's plenty of black people business. I agree. However, people, please find me a 50-50 ownership where it's equal across the board and the wealth is equal between a black man and a white man. There's no such thing as a 50-50 own business between white and black people. They don't set it up. They're not going to let you compete with them. If they can keep you. The
last one I saw was Def Jam with Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin.
And music is a sketchy one. You can get caught up with a lot of that music. You know, Russell Simmons he's an interesting cat. You know what I mean? I'm suspicious of him like Killer Mike. But I would say Sears and Roebuck. A lot of people don't know Sears Roebuck is co-owned by a black and white dude. But I think I heard some stuff because I know the family of the black guy with Sears and Roebucks. And they said I think that white dude tried to squeeze them out or something like that. But the black guy that owned it, I know his niece. What were you saying, Shannon?
No, I agree. Russell is strange, and I believe that he gave up most of his interest to Rick. I think Rick was smart. Rick saw the long game.
Yeah,
he saw the long game, and even though I believe Rick has probably every imaginable thing that he needs, Russell played that game of, diversifying himself and then marrying. I think one of the biggest money pits in Kimora Lee, because she cost him hundreds of millions of dollars, and I'm sorry, the guy started with Def Jam and had what did he have? He had Fat Farm. He had Def Jam and Fat Farm. So he was like, number one record company, number one clothing company. What does Russell have now? I mean, he has a bunch of money, but what does he have now? She still got baby fat. Russell don't even have that shit. That's hers now. He gave that to her. Somebody sound like they're firing off a gun. What is that? Sounds like it. You okay over there, brother TJ?
You know, I would have ran back up and hit the shoot. Yeah. Shetty, you still there?
They setting off fireworks?
Yeah, outside of my house. I had to go get this food. They out there shooting damn fireworks. I'm like, y'all Negroes ain't gonna ever stop shooting goddamn fireworks.
It sounds like he was busting down.
Oh no. I would have told you I had to end it. I ain't gonna do that. Had no evidence of that on video.
you might have had to Russell Simmons. Thank you. God bless you. Good night.
Exactly. I would have had to I wouldn't do that on camera, but if I would have had to defend my life, you would just had to hear it. But you know what I mean? But, it's not like that in my neighborhood. You know, it's areas a mile or two away, but they it's respect because it's a lot of cops that live on my block, a lot of older aldermen and people like that. They don't bring that over here. We don't play that type of shit. Those are fireworks usually. Okay. Even the nephews and the that's the game bangers of the families that live over here. They come over here with respect. They know we don't. We infuse some of my community that the Zulu Nation did, and that's called come in pieces. I'm sorry, come in peace or leave in pieces. That's what we adhere to that in this neighborhood, and I'm sure a lot of y'all do that as well. Let me catch up with comments real quick, and we're gonna get it right back going, Shannon.
Please do and roll up. There was a brother named Edward that asked a question. It wasn't. It wasn't my
Edward Lynn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He asked, "What's stopping us?" I believe he said. Let's see. And I thought we would have answered that by now, but let me keep scrolling. Edward.
I purposely didn't address it. I was waiting for you to, or I could. I just didn't. I wasn't gonna step in on and do that.
I could. No, you whenever you want. Whenever you want, you open it. Just answer the questions. Did it get deleted? Where is it at?
No, it's here. It's right above. It's in between two of Kimi's comments.
Okay.
So what's preventing you from getting anything in life you need or want?
If you had a capital and the right connections, nothing. But a lot of people and this is no disrespect to Brother Elwood, because me and him are cool. He's been on my show. He's a good brother. He's a business owner himself. But he's out of California. But a big misconception a lot of people make when they make that statement about blacks is what they fail to realize is it's literally black neighborhoods or children that's born to black neighborhoods that start, or in Latinos or whatever, that's born with zero. They don't even, you know what I mean? They don't have a pot or window to throw it out of. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people like, oh, well, we know the white man isn't literally standing outside of our door. We know that. Like, we know he's not standing out there preventing us from doing anything. Like, however, it is very strategic policies and things that's put in place to make sure black people's poverty stay pretty much perpetual. Now, can you maneuver and get out of that situation? Of course you can. Is it some unnecessary black on black crime? Of course it is. Like, we know we got to check the vibe. Something that really upsets me is when people say, you always talking about the white man killing black people, but you don't say anything about black on black. I got problems with both of them. I don't want nobody killing black people, you know, but I feel like a lot of people are quick. I'm not saying Edward, but a lot of people are quick to defend that notion or say, oh, well, ain't nothing stop you from doing that, or pull yourself by the bootstrap. You got to have some straps on your boots to pull the hell up first. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we don't have that. Like, can we get it? Yeah. Is it harder for certain people to get over others? Yes. When you growing up in your home, let's say you're a male, you're there with your mom. Your dad's not around for whatever reason. It could be he's in prison. He's dead. He's a deadbeat. It could be a combination of everything I just said. Your priority as a male living with your mom, and God forbid if you got siblings that's younger than you living there, your first priority is to take care of your family by any means necessary. Sometimes we run into trouble doing that, but you don't know how many times you tried to apply and get a good job. We so quick to judge, you know what I mean? But we don't know what a person's doing to try to get a certain lifestyle. It's easy to, you know, and like once again, it's not directed directly towards Edward, but just in general. Like, it's easy for someone of means that's black, that so happen to be black, to say, look, I'm successful. Look what I did, you know, this or that. But unless you directly living in that person's house or their neighborhood, you don't see what they had to do to get there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy from the outside looking in saying that, oh, yeah, you messed up. You know what I mean? You came from this neighborhood, but that don't mean you can't do good. Look at this person, this example, this celebrity, they came from bad neighborhood, but every situation is different for everybody. Like I look at everything as an individual situation. That's why I honestly believe we're not gonna get nowhere as black folks or minorities in general until we start treating everybody's problems as individual. We can't sit here and say, "Oh man, you just complaining or whining." That's not a good way to recruit another person to think like in your movement. Like we gotta get to the root of everybody's individual problems, because what we run into a lot of at our community meetings or when we're trying to do something together, you got people arguing with each other because they don't think they listen to the other person. So I honestly think a lot of us, something that slavery uniquely did to specifically black people, because we know everybody was some form of slave at some point in history, but something that slavery very strategically did to only black people was when they let us out, it was no type of "I'm sorry for what I did" type of, it was no long-term plan of action to have black people go through the healing process. They just put us out there and expect us to forget all the, the trauma that was inflicted. Everybody else pretty much was what? They put all this money into medical. They put all this money into all these different education, all these programs pretty much right away or within probably 10 years of whatever problems. They put money into this affirmative action or reparations plan as a relief program for them. We still ain't got that. A Negro getting a scholarship here and there, that's not going to do nothing overall for the community. The trauma that's faced on a day-to-day basis in the black community is why we pick up newspapers, why we read online that this black brother blew this other black brother brains out, or this Latino brother blew the other Latino. A lot of people think that when somebody make a story about a crime like an ethnic on ethnic crime, they never tell you the contextual relevancy of the story. They just make it seem like two fools shot each other. You don't know what that dude had going on the day before. You don't know what the other guy got doing. They just ran into each other at the wrong moment and somebody got shot. That's what a lot of times it is. They try to make it seem like, oh, this gene or black people are predisposed. No, when you do the research, you see what the problem. I'm from some of the worst neighborhoods in the world. I'm from Chicago. So I'm stacked and mushed between 3 or 4 bad neighborhoods in each direction. It's just I know how to navigate everything. But it's guys literally 15 minutes from my house that might not make it in a couple of years, because it's a neighborhood here called Roseland. I went to high school in Roseland, on the good side, thankfully, but Roseland is one of the most impoverished neighborhoods. If you ever read any YouTuber making a list of why you shouldn't move to Chicago, or they got your bad neighborhoods in Chicago, I guarantee you Roseland is going to be on that list. Roseland and Inglewood, I always guarantee, and West Garfield Park. But these things must be researched. And honestly, I think you're part of the problem, or you're not serious about helping black people if you're not willing to be patient enough to understand everybody's individual problem. Because when it comes to black issues, everything is rushed or put them on a pill, or they trying to do the microwave solution. It's a lot of microwave solutions always trying to be imposed with black. Whereas when they did stuff, when the Italians and the Irish and the Jewish people were committing crime, when the mafia was created by them as a result of being disenfranchised and mistreated by the government, people right away was like, okay, let's put these resources and see what's problem, why this youth is wayward. They don't do that with black people. They just say, oh, it's this, they was predisposed to this or that. And I think we got to get away from that at some point if you really want to help. If you don't want to help, that's on another matter. No crime, no foul. All I ask people to do that don't want to help is to refrain from being overly critical with black people when they're trying to do something. That's all I ask you to do. I'm not one of those. I don't know how you feel about this, Shannon. I'm not one of those black people that think that every black person is a wave they fist in the air, they want to change the problem. No, I'm very aware. A lot of black people they just don't care, and that's fine. My problem is when you overly critique when we're trying to do something. You feel me? Like it's because all black people aren't nationalists or Pan-African. A lot of them they happy to be Americans. I particularly take issue with that, but that's your choice in your life to do that. You know what I mean? Like you can do that all you want, but we have to get it. I'm taking the people that's prepared to go and that want to go. I don't have time to be sitting here trying to convert people that's over the age of 35 to what the problems is with black people. If you don't see it, you're just not trying to see it. You feel me? Like that's how I look at stuff. I'm not trying to save everybody. If I can get 10 for every 100, that works for me. I'm not gonna sit here and I ain't get all 100 people. I don't got time for that. You feel me?
Right. Mm-hmm. And peace and respect to Information Man for just coming in. And
whenever you're ready, Info. Yep. Go ahead, Ushan.
My simple answer for Edward is white supremacy. White supremacy pretty much shuts down. It's an obstacle, a consistent obstacle for, and I want to say, I can say for all people that are not white, but who it's really built, who white supremacist values were built for, were Black Americans. You know, mainly freedmen. I'm not speaking of people who have immigrated here, but you know, they have effects of it as well. But where we can have, and you spoke on some things, so I don't want to basically pile on to your statements or even have to rehash anything, but I don't get into those battles about the black on black crime, just like I don't get on the battles about white on white crime. I know that white people kill each other at a higher clip than black people kill each other.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to get into those debates, you know, but I know that rich white people don't kill rich white people. Rich white people do not kill rich. You generally got somebody that's got some issues, you know, that are killing. When you see a rich white person kill another rich white person, it's over some business. Generally, it's over,
some business stuff. Yeah, he came on his turf or some shit like that. Yeah,
right,
you know?
right. You know, but they don't just kill it. They don't just kill each other. You know, we kill each other, you know, out of desperation.
Right.
You know, and you know, if the resources are flowing through a community, you don't see a lot of murder. You just don't. You don't see murders. You don't see robberies, and everybody's doing good. Here's the thing. Think about, you know, I mean, if they want to talk about murders and robberies and things like this hour by hour, do Black people go out and start robbing and killing and stealing from each other when they get their paycheck?
No.
that's several hours before, and that's several hours after a Black person gets a paycheck. They on their best behavior.
Yeah.
They know what's coming. Now they got it. Now they gonna go put it into the atmosphere the way they need to. That's when they on their best behavior. When a Black man or Black woman or a Black child is on their worst behaviors, when they don't have shit.
Right.
You know, when it's payday and there ain't no paycheck coming, now you in desperation mode. You about to make some bad decisions.
Yeah.
Whether you man, woman, or child. When you got to make some bad decisions. What pushes a child into the arms of the dope game or into the arms of child trafficking or whatever? What pushes a child out there is desperation. A woman doesn't give up her child to be raped because she's got all the resources and everything going for her. She gives up her child to be raped because she needs that drug.
Right.
You know, you don't see that even so. So here's the thing. You got a rich woman, she gets her drugs. You don't see rich women putting their kids on the slab saying, you know, you got to do this for Mr. So-and-so. Or hell, you got to do this for Miss So-and-so, because boys get raped by women too in the game. So you don't see that. It doesn't happen that way. It only happens out of desperation when there's no other choice.
Right.
So people ask me, why do Black people kill each other, you know, at such high rates? Because they have no other choice. They have nowhere else to turn. Now, there's just some ignorant motherfuckers out here who just kill people, you know. So that's everybody. That's across the board. That's with all colors. Right. Okay. So, but when you start talking about why we end up doing the things that we do to each other, because that's why I'm always against a motherfucker that can throw a gun up in his homeboy's face and take his fucking shoes off his feet, but he won't go find that CEO of Foot Locker and put a gun in his face, and he can get all the motherfucking shoes he want to.
That's true. That's true. That's a great point.
He won't go do that. He won't go do that. He won't go get the big get. You go get a franchisee and be like, look, call your manager and tell them to open up the warehouse, and I want all the shoes.
Right.
Now, chances are he gonna go to that same jail he gonna go to for jacking his homeboy, possibly assaulting or shooting and killing your homeboy. Then he gonna go to for jacking that CEO. So why not? If you're gonna get the get.
Right. Get the big get. Yeah, exactly.
But we don't think that way. And I'm not telling anybody to go out and rob somebody. I've used this analogy before. Don't go out. I ain't telling nobody to go rob the CEO of a Foot Locker franchise. But I'm just saying, where do you get out there? How do you even know them fucking shoes fit you? That's what I've never understood. Motherfuckers be out stealing people's shoes. How do you know the shoes fit you?
Right.
Do you walk around asking motherfuckers what size shoe they wear and then jack them? I don't get that. But it happens. It happens all the time.
It's funny you say that, Shannon, because that was a big thing when I was in high school. I went to high school from 2006 to 2010. And I went to this school off a major I-94 expressway. 95th Street is a lot of action happens on 95th Street in Chicago, at least on the south side of the city. I went to high school right off 95th Street. So everything you could think of, it was a melting pot of all gangs. And I went to a school called John Marshall Harlan, which was named after a lawyer. But it was a rough school. Matter of fact, my high school, when I first got there, it cleaned up like 2 years within. They kicked a lot of the roughnecks out. But which is why I was the captain of the wrestling team, so nobody would fuck with me because I was a small dude, but still am. But with my school, if you want like a visual of what my school, that opening sequence from Lean On Me with Welcome to the Jungle, my high school was like that when it first started. It'll be fights in the hallway. My school was small. It was like a big square, small ass high school. It was nothing but a square. But they will have to make announcements over the loudspeaker. Even though it's the end of the period, stay in the classroom because we got a massive brawl. Because if you go out there, now you stuck. Because this much width to work with in this little hallway, you jammed against the locker, possibly get hurt. So we will have to, it will be like lockdowns in the class because all these different gangs are stacked on top of each other. And that somebody might came up in there with, oh, he got the drugs on him. He got the, the stash for this or that. Now they sitting there cutting each other's throat for it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's funny because at my high school, they did walk up to dudes if they had some nice Jordans on or some nice shoes, what size your shoes are. And I made it clear. You can ask what, luckily for me, I had a smaller foot for most guys, but I made it pretty clear to people. If you so happen to wear a size 8 or 8.5 shoe and you want this shoe, how bad you want to go to the hospital over? I used to make it clear if you want my shoe. How are you really willing to go to the hospital over these shoes? Because I'm gonna make sure I put you there if you try to take my damn shoes. But I'm not trying to give off the, just to add to what piggyback off what you said. I'm not trying to take the responsibility off that black people need to do better, and black people sometimes they make poor choices. Then they try to blame white people. I'm not gonna ever advocate for that because sometimes we do make poor choices, and sometimes everything's not the white man's fault. I 100% agree with that. However, we can't ignore the circumstances and the legislation and the laws that has made it where black people have pretty much been poor up to this point. Like you can make it out a certain way, but at what price? At what price? You shouldn't have to sell your whole soul. And I'm not talking about no deep Illuminati stuff. I just mean off principle and off morale. You shouldn't have to give your soul up for your birthright of having a job, being able to provide for your family, get a nice education. You shouldn't have to do all, and that's what they make us do. One thing I always find interesting, and this is some also I got from my mentor, Dr. Claude Anderson. He said, people always say the reason black people are in last place is because they don't work hard enough and they're lazy. He said, okay, Mr. Guy that came up with that likely white guy, I'll ask you this. If somebody is really that bad at something, why you got to put obstacles in front of them all the time? If somebody's that slow, win this show after a while, if I'm racing you and I know you could beat you, why I got to sit there and untie your shoes before you run to make sure you're going to trip and fall out the start? If I'm that bad at something, why you got to constantly put obstacles in front of me? That shows that I'm not as bad as you say I am. You want to make it seem like I am, but am I really that bad? They do the same thing with the standardized test. They'll take, and it was a big thing done on this. I believe this was like the mid 1900s, 1960, 50-ish or something like that. They came up with a standardized test. First of all, I want everybody to focus on standard. Why does it have to be a standardized anything? That right there got me suspicious. Are you like rigging a test for a certain result? What the hell you mean a standardized test? So what they found out was when they first created these standardized tests, the white kids was doing just as bad as the black kids, in some cases worse. So what they did was they took the questions that they knew the white kids would do better on the black, and they made most of the testing. Why you got to do shit like that if we allegedly inferior? Wouldn't it show that we was inferior after a while? Mm-hmm. Why you got to bomb Tulsa? Why you got to, cause insurrection and burn down Rosewood and certain parts of Georgia and Illinois? Why you got to do all of this? Why did you hang black men after a lot of Jack Johnson fights? Because the black man was defeating the so-called Great White Hope. It's a book called A Great White Hope about boxing. I need y'all to read that book. They literally used to be hangings after Jack, because Jack Johnson was the first black world champion in this country. They used to hang black people after every Jack Johnson victory over a white guy as a way to exert their dominance over black men. They still verbally lynch black people after Mayweather. Go look at any social media forum or comment section after Floyd Mayweather fight. If you want to find racist white people, go to where it's a forum after Floyd Mayweather fight. Look at the comments. Now they love him when he winning, but the minute he start, or they love when they making money off something, off of a non-black brand with Mayweather's name. They love him when he's making them their particular brand's money. But when he beats somebody they don't want him to beat, that's when he's a chump. He's the monkey. He's running. I challenge. Go look at one of those forums after Mayweather fight if you want to see how racist white people still are.
See, and these are the things where I know we've gotten caught into talking about entertainment and sports a lot tonight. People who are not very reliable. I mean, I did like watching Floyd as a younger fighter. As he's gotten older, it's pretty much gotten redundant. He doesn't really do it for me as a boxer. I think he's a very tactical fighter. But I grew up in the era of like a James Toney and, defensive fighters. I still think that he's probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest defensive fighter ever. I know Floyd's up there because he's had the longevity and he's had the unblemished record. But James Toney in his prime, you couldn't hit that motherfucker. And once he started getting heavier and things like that, yeah, he got hit a lot more. But as a middleweight and a super middleweight, the only person that really did do any type of damage to him was Roy Jones. And that was just because he was out of shape, had to lose a bunch of weight, and then gain it back to fight. And he was underpowered. With Floyd Mayweather sets himself up for a lot of the shit because of the gaudiness. And I know it's his right to do whatever he wants to do with his monies, but he also sets us back as a people with his, because he's always been that guy. I don't need to stand for none of this shit. Like, remember they were supposed to be boycotting Gucci because Gucci did some slick shit with black people. He showed himself going into Gucci store and getting locked in and buying a whole bunch of Gucci, and that just really should have showed black people, Floyd don't give a fuck about y'all.
Right.
Now, this is also the same guy who will go out and buy 5,000 backpacks. So he's forgiven for his civic mindedness. But that ain't no civic mindedness. That's a tax write-off.
Sure.
And that's trying to get back in the good graces of people, But, Floyd grew up, he grew up, and his father was a professional fighter. His uncle was a professional fighter. Neither one of them I've ever heard. I think Roger talked better than Floyd Sr., but you could tell they weren't scholars. Floyd wasn't going to be a scholar. He was bred to be a fighter.
Yeah, he was.
But then we expected him to be some type of civic savior, and his name was Money Mayweather. I mean, yeah. What else was he going to be? What else is he going to be? That he had to live up to that name. He felt it was more important to live up to that name than to help us fight for social justice causes, things like that.
That's a big issue with blacks because we're the only people that allow our entertainers to speak for us. You don't see Europeans letting their entertainers speak for them. They politicians and they economists and all that are the ones that create the narrative and the people they aspire to be. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being athletes are some hard-working, aspirational people, but politically speaking, they don't speak for us. We have to stop letting them speak for, and that's why you got people like Shaq and Barkley thinking they're the end all be all to all black. They think they're the high-minded people in the black society trying to tell us how to address police brutality. And Charles Barkley, who are you to sit here and chastise? And this is old, but it just made me think of it with the Mike Brown thing, for example, in Ferguson. Who are you to sit here and say how Mike Brown was supposed to conduct himself when you was in Alabama spitting on white women being a damn idiot? Who are you to sit here and try to talk down to people? But we allow them to do. That's our fault because we put them in a position where they think they can say whatever they want to us. You got Ray Lewis out here, and I respect him as a football player, but you got him out here talking about trying to tell black people to go home and not protest police brutality when you live in a goddamn mansion someplace. Who are you to sit here and tell us how we're supposed to do stuff? But that's our fault because we let them talk to us. It shouldn't be this much back and forth, and I don't know what people's opinions are about R. Kelly, but it should not be this much back and forth about R. Kelly. This is the thing with R. Kelly. If he's a predator, he should be in jail. It should not be this divide between black people about, oh, you selling out and he one of ours. I don't give a fuck who he is. If he's preying on women, he need to be in jail. He should be lucky he's not dead. That's what he need to be lucky. Shouldn't nobody be preying on women. I don't care. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to necessarily listen to an R. Kelly song every once in a while, but I'm not about to sit here and put my reputation on the line and say, oh, he one of ours. No, if you're a predator, you need to be in prison. Simple as that. It's not. We shouldn't have this. And Cosby's another one. Cosby, I'm not going to feel sorry for Cosby put himself in it, especially if he's a rapist. Like, I definitely don't. But as far as, let's say what they made up about him was wrong with Bill Cosby. Let's say that. Now, the people that's doing all this is wrong. The justice system is wrong. However, Bill Cosby is the same person chastising black people about if you pull your pants up, this ain't gonna happen. Look what happened to you, Cosby. Who are you to sit here and tell me to pull up my pants when you don't even conduct yourself the way you're supposed to? Then he's sitting here talking about with the situation with the pound cake, when the brother that stole, which he shouldn't have been stealing. But I'm a believer that people don't steal things unless they really need it. I've always been a believer that ain't nobody gonna steal some shit. No, they gonna go to jail. Especially if you're a young black person with a life ahead of you, unless you absolutely have to, like you don't got no food. Nobody's about to go in there and steal and get a record for that. So Cosby, the issue I took with Cosby, he sitting there talking about people always talking about the person that got shot, but you didn't ask why the person that took the pound cake, why he took the pound cake, like he was chastising black people, and he just Cosby, and it upset me because when you know how when you were younger in school you have to write book reports, Shannon. One of my people I was always choose to write a book for was on Bill Cosby. So he let me down because I used to be inspired by Bill Cosby because he was like the black do-gooder. You know what I mean? He wasn't the stereotypical athlete or, you know, the killer, the gangbanger. He showed that a black person can be a doctor. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I was so disappointed when Cosby did what he did. Then he had the nerve to try to chastise black people. What all this stuff I hear about what he do to all the black comedians. If it was up to Cosby, I don't know if you heard this, HBO comedy wouldn't have happened. He was trying to tell NBC not to do it. He said, no, don't put no money into that so you can have a bunch of black Negroes saying the N-word. He was trying to control their comedy and all that. Him and Steve Harvey tried to cut off other comedians. Why are you hating, bro? And D.L. Hughley was talking about, Hughley told him, and he was on Vlad talking about this. He said, Cosby called into the radio station, was like, D.L. Hughley, I don't like that you say the N-word. He said, Cosby, okay, my comedy not clean, but my life is. You don't have co-eds waking up in the morning saying their underwear was on backwards when they was around me. What the hell are you talking about? So Cosby is a hypocrite. You know what I mean? It's just, I take issue with people like that chastise and talk down to people when you got shit in your closet. You know, we got to do better. You know, we got to do better. And that goes to it, protecting our women of any color. White, black, don't matter. You don't let people prey on women if you have something to say about it. We shouldn't even have these type of people in our neighborhoods. You know, it's just, and that takes us to, well, before I get to that, I just want to real quick, because I want to get your thoughts on this, Shannon. Let me play this Claude thing, because a lot of people don't even know who he is, which I find quite fascinating that nobody knows who Dr. Claude Anderson is. From an entrepreneurial, from a financial, he was a strategist in the Navy in the 70s with supplies. He helped the United States survive in Vietnam, all type of stuff. He was a tactician in the Army and stuff like that. Or whatever, and he later became economist, and he was also over the budget of Florida and a couple other states during the Jimmy Carter administration. Let's see, and he's aging rapidly, and we ain't even using them the way we're supposed to. We need to start hugging our elders while we got them. We take our elders for granted, the people with the information, but we out here celebrating Michael Jordan. His wife not even black, and I don't have no problem with people that's married outside of the problem. You know, I'm sorry, outside of the race, but at least do stuff for your community. Michael Jordan don't say shit about the black community. Even I got good brothers I know that got white wives. They still active in the community. That's all I ask you to do. We think Michael Jordan is fucking God for whatever reason. He don't have no time for black people.
I wrote the first book called Black Labor, White Wealth, and which Ebony and Jet calls the second Bible for black folks around the world. It sells all over Europe and into Africa. That was to show you every technique, every trick, every custom, every policy that the major white society used to lock black folk into a lowest level of a real life monopoly game. And they maldistribute all the resources, period. It showed us that in very graphic terms. You have to have a copy of that bottom book over there.
Yes, sir. Black Labor, White Wealth.
That's level 4.
We got dirty little secrets. Got more dirty little secrets.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And this is what they call it around the world. They call this the second Bible for black folk. It shows you exactly what happened to you and that you have no rights. And power, I follow that with powernomics.
Oh, it's behind you.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom.
Okay. Yeah. And this is a national plan.
I love it.
What was the
You have to
question you
have
guys
that.
asked me? I read past it. You asked me.
So how do we catch up as black
Okay,
folk?
how you catch up? This shows this is a national plan for black folk. It says a national plan to empower black Americans, period. And what you first thing you gotta do is make it long story short, you gotta have what you never had in this country. That's a group self-interest. You've been inculcated and coordinated and brainwashed to believe that you got some obligation and responsibility to save the world. You gotta save everybody first before you save yourself. Now I'm a pilot, I don't fly anymore. I'm too old to be flying. One of the first things I would tell people on my plane as passengers, the first thing you do, if we lose cabin pressure at 30,000 feet, we don't have any cabin pressure at night over 10,000 feet. If you lose cabin pressure, a panel over your head will fall down.
Right.
When that mask falls down, the first thing you all should be doing is putting the mask on yourself. We're trying to save everybody. Why does always got black folk marching trying to save it? We're marching for gays. We're marching for women. We're marching for poor people. We're marching for the handicapped. And yet you only control 1/2 of 1% of wealth. You haven't got a snowball's chance. And then at the end of slavery, as I said, you had 1/2 of 1%. Guess what? The average white person at that point in time had 3,500 times more wealth than the average black. That means that 99% of everything in this country was in the white society. And it's still in the white society. I don't care from Vermont all the way to California, San Diego. 98% of everything of value is locked in the white society. 87% of it's frozen, locked into white society. You can't get it out. So all you got to compete with about 13% is up for grabs. And if black folk don't know how to compete for that 13%, you are through. And right now, that's what's happening around the world. You see all these, we're going to implode in this country. Same thing happening in Germany with the Jews. And there's a book out called Hitler's Willing Execution to say the same thing. When certain kind of things begin to happen to you as a group, you better be very careful. And they wrote that as a big, thick book and about what's going to happen. And they started exterminating the Jews. Why? Because you got a group now that you all know about called the Council of 300. What they want to do now is say, we got too many people on the earth and we're going to start losing resources. There won't be enough resources left.
Bill Gates is one of them.
We're going to have water shortages coming.
Ted Turner
Water
too.
shortages come, but follows that is food shortages. Right now, 20% of the world is suffering from water shortages. We're going to start having water shortages in this country. We have water shortages and we have food shortages. So what the council and all these rich people on earth are saying is that we got to start getting rid of some of these people. We're going to start with the non-producers. Now, who are the non-producers in America? The only people in America that produces absolutely nothing except sweat is black people.
Yep.
That's real. I get what you're saying. I feel you.
No, you understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, right now, all of our people that are supposed to be successful, guess what? Only thing they produce is sweat. They're running with balls, football, basketball, baseball, tennis ball, golf ball, singing and dancing, producing sweat. Nobody's buying any damn sweat. Now, how are you going to feed yourself? We don't produce anything. We don't have any industries. And we had a chance to get industries in 1700s when the Industrial Revolution went through Europe. Black folk were slaves. When the Industrial Revolution went through America in the 1800s, we were still enslaved. We own and control absolutely nothing.
You don't think that's changing now a little bit?
Oh man, no, it's getting worse. As a matter of fact, let me give you a difference. Right now, we got all these people that you run in public office talking about. We gotta look for eradicate poverty. You cannot eradicate poverty. Poverty is a fix. It's a given. It's a given. You cannot eradicate poverty. Why? Because just like you can't eradicate, you got an up, you got a down, you got an in, you got an out. That is a fix. You cannot change it. And they always got people want to eradicate poverty. What you should be saying is leave poverty alone and go down and try to figure out how to get black folk out of poverty. Don't be trying to eradicate poverty. Leave poverty alone and get blacks out. And see, so what we need to have more equality. On a race-based society, you cannot have equality. It's impossible. The whole point of a race is a contest.
That's right.
See, a race, you don't go to the Kentucky Derby to try to have all the horses being equal, do you?
No, you won't win to win.
You got it again. You're a smart man. you want to see who comes in first, second, or place.
Right.
And so in a race-based society, why is it called a race? Race never started, never existed on the earth until the 1500s. And that's when it started. That's where racism comes from. They didn't pick racism just out of thin air.
It's a social construct.
It's a social construct. Yeah. It's a social construct. They started, we can start, well, what we're going to do now that Columbus discovered America, you got in 1492, we got a lot of land over there. It's pretty much vacant. And we need to go over there and try to get that land. And what they said is, well, let's go back. How are we going to do it? And they said, well, let's see. Back in about 1446, we had a guy named Henry the Navigator who went around the coast of Africa, and he picked up about 16 black Africans and brought them back to Europe, gave them to the Pope in the Vatican. The popes we used as slaves. And so the Vatican used blacks as slaves. That was one of the first ones. That's from about 1446 up to about 1488. Then Pope Innocent came out and said, well, you know, having these people as slaves, that's a good thing. And so why is that important now? Because you see, the Fox Channel be telling you all, while blacks complain about being slaves, we've always had slaves. No, you have not. You may have had slaves, but not based on skin color. And Pope Innocent came out and says, in the future, don't enslave anybody based on the traditional manner. You're going to enslave people for being either a prisoner of war or for personal indebtedness or religious persecution. He said, let's skip that now and enslave them based on skin color. That was her start. That's her trigger in 1488. So when Columbus discovered America in 1492, he had all this land over here. In that particular time.
You got water for you,
Excuse me, thank you.
Yes, sir.
At that particular time, Europe was being decimated. Europe was under major problems. The entire European continent was being decimated with crime, famine, and diseases. They didn't know what to do in the late 1400s and early 1500s. And all of a sudden they said, you know, since Pope Innocent says that we got some people we can use now as slaves, and we got
Take your time, brother. We here. We got time.
So you all done put me out of here.
No, man, we got time. I've been waiting on you for years.
You tell me a tale.
No, I'm not. People been asking for you for years. We got time.
Okay, I don't want to take up all your time.
No, you good. Ain't no way man coming in here with a sign saying, "Oh, get him up out of here. He talking all this shit."
So when Columbus discovered America, he had all this land. And Pope Innocent said, use these people. Let's have a new form of slavery. No longer based on religion, personal indebtedness, or prisoner of war. Let's use them skin color. And so by the 1500s, we could use that and save America. So a race started. A race is a contest. That contest started between 9 European nations. They all said, let's get in the contest so we can go to the Americas first and capture all that land and build wealth. That's what they came here for. Now you all get by that stuff about they believe in about the Constitution, but they came here for religious persecution. Nobody came here for no damn religious persecution. They came here for happiness. Nobody get on a damn boat to sail across the Atlantic coming to America for happiness. Then that's stupid. They came here for enrichment. Every tourist immigrant came to America. They came here for personal enrichment. That's what they came here to get value, resources. And they started bringing people. So all these countries were competing to try to capture Americas and build it up for enrichment. And that's what happened with Americans. When they got to America, they don't let it jump up. Now they said, well, we got all this land now. We got these people. Let's draw the Constitution. That's what so I told you a few minutes ago. They met in Philadelphia. Says, let's take all this land. We're going to create a document called the U.S. Constitution. That was in 1789. We're going to ratify this, and we ratify it. It's going to be a social construct that the brought here just mentioned to you. The construct is that how are we going to do that? It's well at the top. Let's all the Europeans that got money want to invest in the United States. They got rich people. And that'll be the top scale. They can come here and get all the land. That's Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, all those guys, and Thomas Jefferson. They were wealthy people. They said underneath that, that's the top level. Underneath that, we set up a management class to bring in poor whites. They'd be the management class. And at the bottom, we can bring in these blacks. They had to be managed and classify them as property, as non-citizens. That way they'll never get anything. We got them locked in box. That's in the Constitution. And that's how they got to the first thing they did the next year in 1991, they passed the first immigration laws. Let's bring in all these poor people. This is a nation, an immigrant nation. It's for whites only. And black folk, you are not citizens. You have no entitlements, no rights, and no privileges, and nothing. everything we put into the hands of the white society.
Why is it expected for black wealth to drop in the future?
Oh, for a certain reason, because increasingly, but you don't own anything, wealth creates wealth. Wealth creates wealth. And when they talk about slavery, what blacks don't have any wealth was because they took whites captured your wealth. Labor is wealth. Labor, you can't have wealth without labor. That's the point I'm bringing to you. It's impossible to have wealth without labor. And so